What up? What up? What up? Welcome back to the scorecard, the boxing scorecard, where I ask people to bring your scorecard and an explanation, not just simply your opinion. Um, yes. The show you can catch me this show live every Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, only on Talkin Fight channel on YouTube. If you can't catch the fight, can't catch the show live, you can catch it on any podcast platform, from TuneIn Radio to Spotify to Apple, Google Podcasts, and all that stuff. Any podcast platform you could find it on. All right, good. Let's get right into it. So we had the WBO World Heavyweight Championship last night. Um, Joe the Juggernaut Joyce versus Christian Hammer from Germany. Starting with Mr. Hammer first. He's only 34 years old, homie on the right, but it's a hard 34. He's had some tough fights. So he's only 34, but it's a hard 34. His record is 27 wins with 17 knockouts and 10 losses. Um, and on the left, we have the Juggernaut, who is 30. Yeah, that's the thing that sticks out about Joe Joyce. He's 36 years old. Um, so and as I always say, in real life terms, 36 years old is not old, but in athlete terms, 36 is definitely past your prime, as far as physically. So, but the thing about Joe Joyce, he doesn't have a lot of, for lack of a better term, a lot of kilometers on his body. So he's not the average 36-year-old, especially in boxing. He started late, so even though he's 36, it's a fresher 36 than his opponent's 34 years old. Joe Joyce's record is 14-0 with 13 knockouts. Um, and it's funny because he's a technician, but his knockouts don't necessarily come from one punch knockouts. It's more from the pressure that he puts on people, and we're gonna get into those details. Just a little bit about the opponent, Christian Hammer. He's more what you would consider a C level opponent. Um, he's fought some tough guys. He got stopped by Tyson Fury back in 2015. He's lost unanimous decisions to Tony Yoka and Frank Sanchez, some very good heavyweights. So he's hung in there with some of them, but was not able to beat them. His best win was against David Price, who was good at the time that he beat him. So Hammer, tough competitor, but not A level. And Joe Joyce, man, this guy's something else. He already, in his 14 fights, he already has some good names on his record. He beat former champions Bermane Stavern, Bryant Jennings, and just recently he stopped Daniel Dubois. So he's again, the question at 36 years old is kind of a question mark, but he's a fresh 36, as you could say. There was really no need to score this fight. A lot of I see a lot of people giving the first round to Christian Hammer. I couldn't really see that because he did land. That's the one concerning thing. Hammer did land a few overhand rights on on the Juggernaut. They didn't phase him, but he did land a few ones. So that's one thing that Joe Joyce is gonna have to look for, but not enough. I didn't think it was enough to give Hammer the first round. And it's pressure. Joe Joyce, he puts more pressure than the average heavyweight. Like the pace that he throws at is more than the average heavyweight. He doesn't waste any punches, but he's very consistent. He's very consistent with his pressure, because if he's not throwing punches, he's right in your face, making it look like he's about to do something or ready for you to try to do something. So, and if you don't do something, he's gonna pop you with something. So the pace that he keeps up. He's able to wear guys down, and it's exactly what what happened last night. Um, Hammer went down in the third round, one time in the third round, and then three times in the fourth round. Joyce's pressure, again, I was talking about Joyce's pressure. It's not too often that you see an older fighter wear down the younger fighter. And that's the mystery about this 36-year-old. How much can he keep it up? Because even though, like I said, Hammer is a C level fighter, but even the B plus or A minus level fighters that Joe Joyce has fought earlier, and got rid of, again, Bermain Stavern, Brian Jennings, and Dubois still on his way up, but it's still a tough competitor. He looks, he was the older fighter in all of those fights, except for maybe Stavern. He's probably the same age as Stavern. But again, it's his extra pace and the pressure that he keeps up for a heavyweight that separates him from the rest of them. What he does specifically is he's able to land his cross hand. So he's the orthodox, so his cross hand would be his right hand, from specifically 4 different angles, depending on what the opponent. Like you can land the cross right down the middle. You can land that to the side, not a wide hook, but throwing it just a little bit to the outside of the guard, still coming to the chin. You can land the overhand, and of course you can come in with that uppercut. Joe Joyce mixes those up very consistently, and they're not all hard punches, but because they're so consistent, and if you don't have if your defense is not airtight, you keep getting hit with those, that's what starts to wear down. And then in the third round, when he dropped him, and then of course when he started mixing it up to the body, that was just the ending, and Hammer just couldn't take the onslaught. Again, it wasn't specifically one punch that he stopped him with. It was just the accumulation of the consistency, right? So, what's next for Joe Joyce? Oh, we got a comment here from my man Adari Pennant. There is much better qualities of heavyweights now that the Klitschko's era now than in the Klitschko's era. Yes, that is a very good point. And I'm glad you brought that up, because the one thing, when Tyson Fury fought Klitschko back in 2015, the one thing people say is that Klitschko was he was a champion for 11 years, but hardly anybody can mention what level of what opponents did he fight in those 11 years. There's a reason why that they wouldn't even put him on TV. Just thinking about that, the heavyweight champion of the world, and HBO or Showtime, none of the major networks would even waste their time putting any of his fights on TV. Just to show you the level of opponents that he was going through. And Klitschko, much respect to him, both of the brothers, they're both Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame fighters. Their resumes speak for themselves. They did fight the best of the best at their time. But during that, the early 2000s era, from like early 2000s up until 2015, the level of competition was not the best. So when he fought Fury at 39 years old with gray hair, it was a different passing of the torch. So yeah. Getting back to the fight though, what is next for Joe Joyce? The heavyweight division is pretty wide open now. We still, Tyson Fury, he's thinking about coming back. I don't know how true that is, but we'll see what goes on with that. The rematch with Anthony Joshua, my man from the Ukraine, Oleksandr Usyk, is coming up in August. We'll see what happens with that. Other than that, there's other guys that are on the rise. Tony Yoka from France is an up and coming heavyweight. He won the gold medal in 2016, I believe, at the Olympics. But he's making a name for himself now on his way up, looking good. So he should be on the scene in a minute. You also got Daniel Dubois, who Joe Joyce beat a little while ago, but is still one of the top guys at the heavyweight division. You got Jared Anderson from the U.S., who is a lighter heavyweight but with skills, and could do some damage at the heavyweight division. Lawrence Okolie right now is a cruiserweight, but he's smashing all these guys. We'll see if he can take the Usyk route and clean out the cruiserweight division and move up to heavyweight. What else we got here? Another comment from Mr. Pennant. The WBC bridgeweight division needs to be scrapped and necessary pure garbage. You know, yeah, they're not really doing a good job of promoting this bridgerweight division, because to be honest with you, I didn't even, until you just mentioned it right there, I forgot even about all about it. Like nobody, I don't know. I know two guys fought for it. And off the top of my head, I picture their faces, but off the top of my head, I forget their names. They had a bridgerweight belt a couple of months ago. Um, but it was a Canadian guy against. Anyways, that just goes to show you. You guys know how much I follow boxing. I don't even know who the champion is at this bridgerweight division. What else we got here? What else we got here? Can you imagine a future fight between Jared Anderson and Daniel Dubois? Yes, that's definitely something that I could envision happening. Um, Probably right, if it happens anytime soon, it would, financially probably be better at in the UK, in that big. I don't know if it's a Wembley Stadium big enough fight yet, but a lot of people, the UK, they love their boxing out there. I'm not sure if Jared Anderson would be enough of a ticket seller over here in North America for it to be worthwhile for Daniel Dubois to come over here for that fight. Um, and I'm pretty sure Jared Anderson has already fought over in the UK already, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, man. Oscar Rivas, yes, yes, yes. Oscar Rivas is the Bridgerweight champion, and he fought the Canadian. Shoot, I should know this. Wow, he fought the Canadian for that scrap. But anyway, Oscar Rivas, who actually trains out of Montreal. Shout out to Canada. Yeah, Oscar Rivas, who trains out of Montreal, is the Bridgerweight champion right now. Oscar Rivas had some tough matches with Dylan White, and yeah, Oscar Rivas in general was a later half of the top 10 heavyweight. Brian Jennings, no, it wasn't Brian Jennings that he fought. It was a Canadian from, I think, from Nova Scotia, something like that, or Halifax. Um, Anyways, yeah, look, as soon as the show's done, Ryan Rozicki, yes, that who it was. Ryan Rozicki, thank you very much, my man Vinny. Ryan Rozicki and Oscar Rivas fought for the first Bridgerweight championship, and Oscar Rivas is the champion right now. So yeah, that's. But again, at 36 years old, how far can Joe Joyce bring it back to the champion here, or bring it back to the competitor here? How much can he handle? Justice Hooney versus Jared Anderson would be a great fight. Justice Hooney, where's he from again? Why is that name not coming to give me a brief? I'll look him up. I'll look him up, but give me his quick background on Mr. Hooney, because I'm not familiar with that name, unless that's an abbreviation. Thank you very much for your comments, though. Justice Hooney is an Australian professional boxer who has held the Australian heavyweight title since 2020. As an amateur, he won a bronze medal at the 2019 World Championships. Thank you very much for that information. That is the exact information that I look up whenever I research fighters to check their background, real quick. I always look to see if they did anything as an amateur too. Just because you did something as an amateur doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be successful as a professional. But it just does show, a little bit of, does help to with your experience level. So he won a bronze at the World Championship in 2019. In 2019, he has the Australian Championship. He defeats Australian compatriot Joseph Goodall by unanimous points decision in Brisbane. Okay, okay. All right, okay, okay. So from what I see so far, he okay, this Justice Hooney guy. I gotta do a little bit more research on him. I want to actually watch him so I can physically see his good attributes, good or bad, and go from there. But you know, as of right now, what's yeah, and because it seems like they're both in their at the as far as Justice and Jared Anderson, they're both on the rise up. So yeah, it would make sense to make that happen. Joe Joyce versus Martin Bacoli would be fireworks next. Yeah, I mean, again, in the UK, that would definitely be a big fight. But Martin Bacoli, that's not the same as. Oh no, obviously not. Yeah, that's I was thinking Lawrence Okoli, right? That's the different guy. Lawrence Okoli is at cruiserweight. Martin Bacoli, he's already at heavyweight, correct? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, I love it. I love the comments in the chat. Thank you very much for interacting. Helps the show go along. I love when people ask questions and help out. So shout out to Adari Pennant. Of course, shout out to Talkin Fight for helping out with the research. And yeah, oops, press the button. So yeah, what else we got? What else we got? I'm very interested to see. Yeah, you see this? I specifically put this picture here because this is kind of the expression that Mr. Hammer had. Going into them third and fourth rounds. He's like, man, what do you want me to do? That's that look like, man, I'm trying. Like this guy's just beating me up. Like I'm like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? So he was trying, yeah, Mr. Hammer. He was trying. It's not that he was giving up. He was trying hard. It's just that Joe Joyce was putting it on him, man. That again, I know I'm repeating myself, but specifically the way he was mixing up. I mentioned before the four different ways that he landed, the four different ways that he landed his cross from right down the middle to a little bit to the side to a couple of overhands and bringing in the uppercut. After that was opening him up. Then he started coming down to the body, which make your opponent drop their hands each time because they're not sure if you're coming up here or down here, and just opens up your opponent even more. And then the pressure just took him out, especially when he threw one hard one to the body. What else we got? Frankie Sanchez versus George Joyce would also be interesting. Yes, yes, yes. Frank, that's I mentioned that before as the future of the heavyweight division, along with Tony Yoka, Daniel Dubois, Jared Anderson, and Frankie Sanchez is definitely one of those guys that is the future of the heavyweight division. You think he's ready for Joe Joyce right now? Well, again, Joe Joyce needs to again at 36 years old, he needs to get all the big fights that he can right now. There's no wasting time in Joe Joyce's career. So, like in some cases, like if you're 23, 24 years old, your promoter, your coach might say, this guy, you could fight this guy right now, but let's wait a little bit. Let's get a little bit more experience. Um, Maybe wait 2-3 years, have a couple of fights, some good sparring sessions against some tough competitors to get some more experience, and then you'll test that guy later on. But at 36 years old, there's not you don't have time to waste. Not a lot of time to waste. So very interested to see how Joe Joyce's career is going to go on, especially he's being fast tracked. Has to be fast tracked, slowing down now. So very interested to see how the next couple of years go in the heavyweight division. All right, man, there you have it. Any more questions in the chat before I sign off? Once again, shout out to the Talkin Fight channel, only on YouTube. Catch this show live. Derek Chisora versus Jarrell Miller would be fireworks. Gerald Miller. Derek Chisora, man, he's them legend workhorses. Derek Chisora is always going to give you a good fight. Whether I was going to say whether he wins or loses. Past couple of years, it's more on the losing part. But even in his fights that he's losing, he's an exciting competitor. Shout out to Derek Chisora. Gerald Miller, yeah. That fight, like Chisora versus Miller, would be like a good undercard, not co-main event, not even co-main event, but like maybe the third card before the main event, just to get the crowd going. Because any fight with Derek Chisora is gonna be exciting. Like he's like yeah, he's one of the most exciting fighters in boxing, just because of his fighting style. Like he's coming to fight. He's coming to fight. He's not coming to box you. He's coming to fight. Shout out to Derek Chisora. Yeah. So there you have it, man. Again, every Sunday live, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, only on Talkin Fight YouTube channel. If you can't catch it live, catch it on any podcast platform that you can listen to. Thank you for all the comments. The scorecard, bring your scorecard and an explanation. Later on today, we're gonna have the knockout of the week with my man Mike Orr at 4. And of course, Monday through Friday, we got my man Mike Orr at 4, and myself, most of the time myself, but Mike's going to be there 100% of the time, giving you the up and coming boxers that you might not heard of yet, but we try to bring them out first and talk them out first. Daniel Dubois versus Frankie Sanchez would also be great. Yeah, man. Every single mention that every single fight that you put in there, uh, uh, um, would be great undercards. Matter of fact, I'm not sure if they made the undercard yet for Anthony Joshua and Oleksandr Usyk. If anybody knows what the undercard for that one would be, I'm assuming usually on the big heavyweight pay-per-view fights, they'll usually have another somewhat big heavyweight fight. Um, if someone could look that up real quick and put it in the chat, please let me know what is the undercard for Anthony Joshua and Oleksandr Usyk, the rematch, which is in August 20th, I believe. Because any of these fights would be a great undercard. Yeah, Dubois versus Sanchez, Chisora versus Miller, Sanchez versus Joyce. Well, Joyce just fought last night, so he's not going to fight an undercard. Joyce is at the level now where he's not necessarily doing co-main events or undercards. He's one of those guys. He's at the level now where he's the main event. Maybe not the might, if he fights Joshua and guys, he might be the B side, but he's fighting main events. So what do we got here? Lawrence Okolie versus Dylan Prasovic. Oh, this is the undercard. Okay, Lawrence Okolie. He's the cruiserweight he's fighting for the WBO cruiserweight title. Callum Smith versus Lennon Castillo. Okay. Callum Smith versus Lennon Castillo. Okay, that should be interesting. Campbell Hatton, Ricky Hatton's son, versus Maxim Produm. Christopher Ousley versus Kassam Bayaz-Gurov, and Daniel Lapin versus Paul Martiniak. All right. The one that I'm going to be looking for is Lawrence Okolie versus Mr. Dylan Prasovic for the WBO cruiserweight title. I'll pay attention because again, Lawrence Okolie, it's very tricky moving from. I think one of the hardest divisions to move up in is going from cruiserweight to heavyweight. Yeah, we already talked about this whole Michael Hunter, Joseph Parker. Yeah. Again, another great undercard fight. I talked before about that Bridgerweight division that they got. That's still not really established yet. So I don't know. I'm just still thinking the toughest jump from. What about Florian Marcoux? I like him. He's a boxer. What about him though? The toughest jump in boxing is going from cruiserweight to heavyweight. Lawrence Okolie right now is on the path where he's smashing all these cruiserweights. Just when you're moving up to heavyweight, you're fighting them big boys. You better make sure your defense is tight. Especially if you're the smaller guy, because when you move up to heavyweight, there's no limit. When you're in a smaller division, then you're moving up in weight classes. There's limits to each how much your opponent can weigh. When you move from cruiserweight to heavyweight, there's no limit. You can weigh whatever you want. So you better make sure your head movement is good and your defense is tight. Well, head movement is included in the defense, obviously, but yeah. You better make sure your defense is tight. So Lawrence Okolie, very interested to see what he's going to be. Florian Marcoux was featured on Knuckle Up. Yes, he definitely was. Florian Marcoux, very exciting fighter. I think he was a former kickboxer too, and he brought his following from his other sport to boxing because He has a strong crowd presence whenever he fights, specifically talking about Florian Marcoux. Strong crowd presence, and he fights in a crowd pleasing style. So yeah. Shout out to Florian Marcoux. All right, man. There you have it. You can hit me up on any social media at Cedric Sports, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that. Talk and fight. All right, man. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.